Hey there, YouTube, woodlandDOX here, and we are getting kind of consistent, aren't we? Like, come on. 2 weeks in a row with a video that's not just gameplay, where I can just sit down, record, and hit go. Like, I actually have to pay attention to what I'm doing. Claps for me. Anyways, I'm so modest, my lord. So, first, I wanted to thank anybody who watched the last one. If you didn't watch the last video, it was a bit of a meme deck profile. You know, in 2023, all you need is a meme and a dream. I took that dreamy meme dream to locals. Did not go well at all. Went terrible actually. But so no more meme decks at locals. We're gonna play real decks. Probably starting with this one here. But so I think anybody watched that. If you didn't, please go back, check it out. And it was a little bit of hint to what I'm gonna cover today. So today, before I cover the deck, I want to cover this deck box, okay? So I have a good friend of mine who's changed their internet name many times. Currently Night Cavalry? I think you're currently Night Cavalry. So I did a deck box commission with them a while ago, which I think it's crazy that we don't see more people do deck box commissions. Like, you can get a base color, whatever color you want, and then just have them doodle. Like, I think it's a cool idea. But anyways, so they did something that represented each of the trading card games I played at some point in time. So there's my Pineco, my little mascot. He's got the shades. That's where my whole emote comes from. Twitch.tv/woodlandDOX. Cabcorp logo, because when I played Yu-Gi-Oh, I was massively into Blue Eyes and Dark Magician decks, so we put the Cabcorp logo on there. And then, of course, for Vanguard, we have Harry's mask. I just think it's such a cool deck box. Didn't put anything on the side, but that's okay. That side represents for when I get addicted to some other game. But so anyways, I just want to show the deck box real quick. Always thought it was cool. So getting to the Seraph Purelight deck profile, we are going to show you exactly what you've known since the trial deck. Ruby Red's our starter. You go second, draw one. Kyanite Blue, search your prison. There is, when we get to the prison, I'll kind of explain what I used to do and what I'll still probably have to do, but we'll get there in a second. Rasat Pink, take a card from your opponent's hand, put it to jail. It's their choice, which is the unfortunate part. And our Seraph Snow, which is grade 3. Rideline used to be the boss till we got set 4, but anyways, she is our Counterblast 1. Take 2 of your opponent's rear guards, your choice, put them in jail. And with 1 card in jail, 10k, 3 cards in jail, triple drive. So she's the only one that lets you pick between her and Purelight. Purelight does not let you pick. Purelight is their choice. So we are going to go in reverse order, starting with Miss Purelight. So I do have the DSR, and remember that part about me being humble a minute ago? I just flashed an SP Rideline and talk about having the DSR. I've got the DSR, but I put it in a magnetic case, so it can't be touched, scratched, bent, flipped, licked. I know some of you would lick it. That's why it's a magnetic case, so you can't lick it. Anyways, you're on 4 copies, which, it does take a little bit of deck space because you never know if you're gonna be able to find it in time or not. So you do need to run it at max copies for the moment. We will be getting our promo pretty soon, right? Our searcher for her. Thankfully, my locals is going to start getting promos, but we'll have maybe cut it down to 3 instead of 4. Room for 1 other card. Because if you're going to be able to search it, you want to have multiples. Because if you just do it once and then they empty the jail, it's kind of whatever. But anyways, her skill, Counterblast, when placed on the Vanguard, circle on top of a unit with Seraph in its name. Counterblast, Soul Blast the Seraph unit, and we can take 2 cards from rear, 2 cards from soul, 2 cards from hand, opponent's choice. So that is the downside, is their choice. If they see a Rouge coming, if they know a Rouge is in your hand somehow, they can clear the front row, so you can't take the card with Rouge, or whatever the case may be. If you're running that one really cheeky, isn't it like Soul Blast 2 or 3 and take your opponent's entire back row? Isn't that a card? Or is it Soul Blast 1? Because if Soul Blast 1, that's amazing. But anyways, so if they know what you got coming, they can pick and choose. If their soul needs a certain setup, like Dredrewel, for example, or they need 1 of each grade, they can pick out of their soul to where it's just, 1 of each grade left. Kind of rough, right? But then again, we have our second ability of Front Row. Gets 5k for every 2 units in jail. And if we get to 10 units, the entire front row is base to crit. So we'll have our discussion on various ways to get to the 10 folks in jail. But the best way that I have found, obviously rewriting this multiple times, and then if you think you're going to be stuck, damage denial is not the worst thing in the world, so that they have to empty their soul and do it one at a time instead of two at a time. But anyways, we all know Purelight. She's been around for 6 sets. Now, someone who's not been around for 6 sets. One of the 2 cards that has made me change my deck list for the first time in over a year, probably. Well, aside from toying around now and then. But we do have our brand new grade 3 unit. I do only have 3 copies in here at the moment. 4 would not be the worst. Still trying to feel it out. You know, I haven't had too many games with it in the 2.5, 3 weeks that the cards have been out. Thanks to a work trip. But I've gotten to play with it a few times, and I do really love it. On place, we steal a card from drop. It is from drop. Yes, it is from drop. Steal a card from drop, put it to jail. Then, if there are 2 or more, she gets 5k attack strength, 10k shield, which is really cool because it's sort of like a mini Obscura. It doesn't get the intercept ability, but it's a grade 3 with 10k shield. You're almost always going to have 2 in jail unless they just went all out emptying jail. So, 10k shield on a grade 3, that really helps with one of the issues that I see a lot with this deck is shield value. So really cool extra little piece. And then of course when she attacks, it's just when she attacks. There's no other, I thought it was when she attacks and something. It's just when she attacks. They have to grab with 2 or more at the same time. So if you're not at your full condition for 10 in jail and it's not worth their time to block, if they're just like, oh, 1 damage, you're at least still stealing 2 cards, right? So let's just say you got like 5 in jail and she's 23 instead of 13. I mean, 23 is really easily guarded with just a trigger, right? More often than not, that's all it's going to take. So you're at least going to steal 2 cards from their hand. So she's in there at 4 would not be a bad idea for her. Just still feeling it out. But what I've what I've come to know and love over the past, I don't know, year and a half is my grade 2 lineup. So prior to this version of the deck, there were no grade 1s and no grade 3s. Outside of the ride line, perfect cards, and jail. So it was all grade 2s, which is kind of crazy, right? But then again, if you think about it in the standard format, grade 1 and grade 2 have the same shield value. So there's that. And I don't like Shovel Stud. I know draw is a plus. I just don't. Counterblast and Soul Blast. No, I'm not using 2 resources for one thing. What else? That chick that calls 2 of herself and becomes 13k. She was a thought for a moment, but that was it for me. It was just a thought. It's just not enough. So, one card that has been in there since the beginning, the conception, is our Aurora Battle Princess, Agra Rouge. So, Rouge is another answer to my shield problem. If 2 or more are in jail, she counts for 15k shield instead of 5. I don't think this card will ever get displaced in this deck. I don't see it being displaced. It's just too good to help with the shield issue. And on play Soul Blast 1, take something from the front row, put it to jail. So if you're ever 1 short, or if your opponent's got something that's been a pain in the butt for the past few turns, if you just need to get rid of that 5k intercept. It serves so many purposes for a single Soul Blast. So off of playing Prison, you Soul Charge 3. Off of your Ride Line, you'll have 3 in there. So you have 6 Soul to work with. If you run effect triggers, you can get up 7, 8, whatever. But 6 Soul to work with doesn't seem that tight of a constraint for you. So if anything only has Soul Blast cost 1, you're running a few copies of cards that do that, I think you're pretty safe. So Rouge is there. She's been there. She'll continue to be there for a very long time. Next up, this card also uses Soul. I would very much like extra copies of this card. Again, a promo. It was pricey for a little while. So I only had 2 copies of Macarite, but I'm kind of finding 2 works. She's a one-note wonder, right? On play, Soul Blast, top card, 5k, if there's 2 or more. So, what's the deal? Like, it's just a single card plus. So, she may find her way out, because after that, she's just basically a 10k vanilla. She is of use once. So, I'm finding that I'm kind of steering away from Macarite. So, having her at 2 feels like the extra little bit of steal, you know what I mean? If I'm stuck at 9, I can take her. Or basically, if I'm stuck in a non-number, I'm going to slap her down and then intercept with her to the best of my ability. But again, intercept, she's only 5k. So more often than not, that's not going to help you too much. So I do only run 2 copies of her because at first she was WoW and expensive, and now to me she kind of fell off. I don't know. That's my personal opinion. I would like more copies just to try it. You know, I've obviously tried it on Deer Days and stuff like that, but it just seems, I don't know, kind of stagnant. But next up, I start getting into some more of my personal choices, or if you want to call them tech choices. I know other people do use these cards. At least a couple times I've seen it, not all too often. But my favorite card in the entire deck, I run it at 3. All these ratios, this I don't go 4, 4, 4, 4, 4, 2. I run ratios that I feel give me options. So I like to play Prison as a control deck, you know, not big number beat down to crit. I like to play control. I like to see what the opponent's trying to achieve, and I like to disrupt it. I am evil Homer. It's more fun for me. I don't know. But anyways, I run 3 copies of our Aurora Battle Princess Barrage Ultra. No one ever told me it wasn't pronounced Ultra. They literally just put the letter L at the beginning of a word and a T after it. So if I've ever pronounced that wrong, it's been mispronounced for quite some time. So Ultra is when she attacks, anything you guard with, anything placed in the guard circle goes to prison, or if she hits and it's a rear guard, instead of being retired, they go to prison. So this is absolutely amazing when you do have the 2 crit on it. So when you have the 2 crit on it, she's 35k. That's before any triggers. She's 35k, 2 crit. People are going to have to spend at least 2 cards, because even the special front, unless they've hit a defensive trigger, even the special fronts are going to only hit them 33. You're putting 2 more cards in jail. Or if you're playing the damage denial route and you really want to control the board, attack the rear guard, because then you're guaranteed to get at least 1 card into prison. So I find it very, very fun to be able to manipulate my style of play as I go using Ultra and my next choice. So my next choice that I do have here in the good old deck is Spark Limon, our next Aurora Battle Princess. So Limon is the exact opposite. Limon doesn't care about guard. If you guard, whatever. Limon's kind of stuck. But if you don't guard, she steals 2 cards. So again, if I'm going the damage denial route, or if I know, like, for example, if my opponent is, at 1 damage, or they healed down to 0 from 1 damage, and this is my turn 2 turn, and I see that, they got 4 cards in their hand usually is what you have. I'm grade 2, they're grade 1. They're gonna have to spend at least 1 card to block it, right? Or if they're desperate for damage, if they need CB, this is especially good if your opponent needs CB. So if you're going damage denial, you're like, I'll give him 1. Poke him with Limon, because then she takes 2 units from drop and puts them into jail. So it's another way for me to control the way the game's going, keep the pace at the point that I want it to be. So, and again, if they don't care about their rear guards, just like Ultra would steal 1, she'll steal 2. If they don't care about their rear guard, or if they don't have enough cards to guard it and you don't want to give them any damage, easy steal. So those are my choices for kind of playing with my opponent, kind of telling them, hey, you know what? Game's going my way today. The last grade 2 that I run is something that, excuse me, I have seen nobody else run. Nobody. And I often wonder why. So for a very long time, we were in a restand meta. We still have decks that are prevalent that restand. Like Rockagore and Jeweled. We have Lutetia. We have Dote. We have Crossover Dress. I mean, we have, Crossover Dress is not really meta, but we have so many decks that can provide a restand, right? And what is this deck's biggest weakness, in my opinion? Shield value. So I do run 3 copies of Explosive Melting Heart. So Explosive Melting Heart for the cost of 1 Soul Blast. Again, we'll have 6 to Soul Blast throughout the whole game if you choose not to run effect triggers. There's no cards that soul charge in here, but so 1 of your 6, which again should be plenty if you think about it, Macarite, Rouge, that's all we've seen so far, the Soul Blasts. The Purelight, you're just Soul Blasting what you wrote upon. So it's not really that much of a negative. Negative 5k for every card in jail until the end of turn. So if you have at least 3 cards in jail, which again, more towards the late game you're going to because your opponent has limited resources to remove from jail. It's at least 15k shield for the cost of a Soul Blast. It gets around certain guard restricts. If it says no sentinels and they have 8 cards in jail, boom, negative 40. That's going to take care of a lot of your problems. Or, if it says when guarding from hand, must do this. Well, it's not in the Guardian Circle, it's in the Order Zone. So, gets around some guard restricts. Negative 5 for every card in jail until the end of turn. If anything's restanding, got him! What's the point of it restanding? They're probably not going to pay the cost, or they're going to pay it. It's going to be a lot easier to guard. So I love, love, love this card. The fact that it's a grade 2, not a grade 1 is a little rough. Sometimes early on, I don't have enough shield in my hand, and I'll guard the Vanguard attack, and then someone checks a crit, plop it on the rear guard. That's about the only time where I really like it to be available. But then again, that early, how many cards am I going to have in prison, right? So, not too much. That is it for the grade 2s. Grade 1s, nice and standard. Boom. There's your prison. With your monkey for crimes against bananas. I don't know. Yeah. It's jail. Counter Blast 1 to free 2. Soul Blast 1 to free 1. Nice and easy, straightforward since day 1. Again, we do have 4 perfect guards, like you always should. Obviously, Elementaria, pop it in there for our grade 4 meta, especially with all the deck sets and all that good stuff. My Elementaria is in a different deck. I'm not paying $25 a pop. Anyways, 4 perfect cards, standard. Less than 2 cards, don't discard nothing. And now for my last grade 1. This one is a big feeling out process. So we have our Aurora Battle Princess Grenade Marleta. Okay? The new grade 1 from set 10. So she's out here doing her best. I don't know. I wanted to put it in because I felt like changing it up from an all grade 2 lineup to having our grade 1 girl in there. So again, she is brand new. So our full effect is, when this unit is placed on R, you may choose one of your opponent's imprisoned units in your prison. If you do, your opponent puts that card on the bottom of the deck, chooses a grade 0 from drop, puts it in there, and she gets 5k. So, you have her early on, she becomes a 13k attacker. You have her late, she's a 13k booster. And the swapping damage, am I playing Angel Feather? The swapping units in prison part. So that's where I'm a little conflicted, because there are some decks where there's an on-place ability that's crucial. Obscured being one of them in Eva. If you're playing Eva against prison, you pretty much won. Because even off of Versat Pink, when they had to put one from hand to jail, they can just call it from prison, then it's considered call by a card's effect, and they get the 2 crit. So it's really, really nice to have this option to do it. I haven't seen it come true much so far, to where there's something I absolutely need out of jail so they can't call it. I don't know. It's going to be a process to see if this stays in or not. The extra 5k is nice. You'll notice that this is the only grade 1 that I could rest for cost of prison, to play prison in the first place, right? I've just been pretty much resting my Vanguard, which is another way that I tricked myself into believing I control the game. Because if I'm resting my Vanguard, if I go second and I'm resting my Vanguard instead of swinging, I'm damage denying them for any kind of counterblast skills or any freeing units from prison on their turn 2. So in a way, I tricked myself into believing that. It has proved handy a few times, especially if someone's trying to pop off a Blaster Dark against me. It's pretty fun. They go into their turn like, oh, I don't have any counterblast, but it is what it is. She is definitely a feeling out process. I'm gonna have to see. I'll report back, but that is it for the grade 0s. Now, time for all the criticism and all the people telling me how wrong I am. We're gonna go into the trigger lineup. This is the hill I will die on. Okay, like just imagine a beautiful green grassy hill, and then me dead, because that's what's gonna happen. Don't kill me, please. This is YouTube. Violence is not allowed. Our trigger lineup. I only run 4 critical triggers. Hear me out. The deck's main objective: get to 10 units in jail, to initiate the base 2 crit, right? So if I'm heading towards that point, yeah, checking a crit and popping it on someone is great. Oh, 3 damage. 3 damage, big number. A perfect guard just nullifies that. I don't want to work to the point where they're getting the maximum value out of their perfect guard, right? There's no guard restrict outside of our new grade 3 that says, no sentinels. She just has more than 1 card. So there's no real, no real incentive to me to run more crits. Yeah, early check crit, great. But then you're giving them more damage to free from jail. So if I want absolute control over my opponent's field, if I want control over who they're going to take out of jail, I'm only running 4 crit. Because it's going to come in handy for, when it does pop off. But sometimes I find myself not wanting to check a crit late game. If I have them at 3, I'm sitting at 4, the last thing I want is to check a crit, put them to 5, and then on their turn, they're able to heal and I'm not. That's what I don't want happening. So I want to be able to control how many people are coming out of jail. I want to be able to control how much damage I'm dealing at once. So I get people to 4, let them counterblast to their heart's desired, and then build up to 10, swing in. So that's all we do for crits. And again, no effect crits. I don't see the need for more soul, and I'd much rather have the shield in hand than I would to boost and put into my soul. So what I do said doo-doo, that I really enjoy is I run 4 copies of Cardinal Draco Impero, and I also run 3 of the Rose, Frontier Rose. So if you get to base 2 crit, that means you have 10 in jail, which means you have an extra 25k. With this lineup, you're going to have more than likely a 35 or a 40k rear guard, right? Hit the front trigger, 50, 60, 45, 55, 65. So you're going to be hitting these really, really unfortunate numbers more and more because I'm going up by 10. The front row is just going to keep getting bigger. So when I hit 2 crit and I get bigger and bigger and bigger numbers, it's going to take more perfect cards. It's going to take more out of your hand. I want to absolutely drain you of your resources. So I'm not going to run more crits and give you extra resources to free yourself from jail. I'm going to run triggers. And again, this also helps with the shield value. Imperial gets extra 5k. I'm going to run triggers that make my numbers bigger, that make it harder for you to guard when I'm already base 2 crit. I don't need to rely on checking a crit. I'll have it. This gets me the power. So that is my absolutely deranged way of managing when you do and don't take damage. To round it out, we do have our 4 heals. Obviously not do the grade down heals as we are a grade 4 deck ourselves, and I'm not going to the non-critical trigger heal. I don't know. This deck already has enough issues with shield, and I don't want to chance it on a certain condition being met. I just want my flat 15k. And lastly, we do run my best buddy in the whole world, Elder Breath. Over trigger 100 million power, double everyone else's power, double their crit, double the fun. If you're at 10, this is the best part. If you're at 10 in jail and you check this, everyone goes to base 4 crit. That just says, hey, you know what? Perfect guard or you lose. Because everyone's going to be doubled. So that's 35, that's 70k. If I'm running my grade 2, my new grade 3 girl's not there. This is why I was okay with running grade 2s previously. Nothing but grade 2s. Was the 25k from prison. Double it. That's an extra, it's double the entire thing. So that's 25 on top of their base 10. Some of them also got 5. So that could be a 40,000, 35, 40,000 doubled into 70 or 80,000 with 4 crit. This is the only way to go. If you put Olbera, you put something else in there. Don't know. I'm gonna have to question your decision making or something. But anyways, that is it for the deck profile part. Let's go into a little bit of an optimal setup. I'm just gonna say setup one more time. Be back. All right, now that I've said setup enough times, let's go into our ideal situation here. So here's what I would love my field to look like. Obviously, these all three being here, highly unlikely, but this would get us the biggest numbers, so I put it out there. So let's just play pretend and say we only have one out there. It would be super ideal to have all three, but you guys have played the game. You know it doesn't always end up like that. So we do have our jail. We would ideally have 10 cards in jail. Editing docs, if you just put a 10 right here, wait, right here, that's better position. Put it above the card so people see it, docs. Good call. So anyways, we'll have 10 cards in jail, ideal situation. So that means our front row is very, very large. So we would have a 25k boost to the entire front row. So that is 35 here plus her 5. I believe, yeah, it's not just the when placed she gets 5, it's forever. So she's going to get an extra 30k. She's going to be 43k. Our Purelight's going to be 38k with triple drive. And then our other side, it's going to depend a little bit. I'll get there in a second. They're both going to get the 25k boost. So it's going to be 35 no matter which one of these two that I would have out on the field. So if I am at that point of the game where I'm going to have 10 in jail, this is who I'd rather have out there out of the two choices. I'd rather have Ultra out there. Again, Ultra would force them to put more cards in jail or take the 2 crit. But I'm always attacking Vanguard first. Always attacking Vanguard first. She would be a 13k booster. So we would have a 51k Vanguard lane with triple drive, 2 base crit. So I'm at 5. I let myself get to 5. Unless I know I have absolutely no shot at guarding with what's in my hand, I let myself get to 5. That way I can put them at 4 and just go for the knockout punch. I don't want to put my opponent in a healing spot. There's nothing more, there's nothing more frustrating than a 6 heal. But imagine if you have them on 5, you hit them with a 2 crit and they heal over, they heal, whatever the case may be. I'm not putting them in a spot where they can heal from start. Just not chancing it. So anyways, we do have our Vanguard swing first, because if you're lucky, if you are just that talented, you're going to check the overturn. And everything's going to double. So what we got over here, we had 43 and we had 35. That's going to become 86. It's going to become 70 with 4 crit each. That's absolutely optimal right there. We know the overtrigger doesn't always happen when you want it to. It happens when your opponent doesn't want it to happen. But you draft check the overtrigger, it's just game. It's absolutely game at this point. But again, we're going to, because we are base 2 crit, and they don't know that my trigger lineup only has 4 crits because I want to control them. They're thinking they just haven't seen the overtrigger. This is all about mind games, and I'm here for it. But it's all about mind games. And I think that if, my deck's getting smaller as the game's going on, and I'm facing someone, I'm like, ooh, they want to do max damage. They want to crit me. They want to crit me. They want to crit me. I haven't seen him yet. Oh my god, I better guard the Vanguard swing. So they guard the Vanguard swing, they use their one perfect guard they have left, or they use the most triggers out of their hand. Then you still have these two that are base 2 crit to swing with, and if you do check one of the 4 crits, all the better, right? So again, you're going to have this, no matter what you hit, you're more than likely going to hit a front trigger, as that's our most populous trigger. So if you do hit a trigger, it's going to go even higher. We're going to throw her up to, what was she? She was 43, so she go to 53, she go to 45. That gets over 2 trigger guard, unless it's the special fronts. That gets over the 2 special fronts. So, it's just a nice magic number to have. Again, I would more than likely swing with one of these two first, whoever I'm picking. So Ultra, obviously, if I feel like they've got if I know they've got something to guard with in hand, or if I know that there's a perfect guard there, or what the situation is, if the hand's huge, I'm going to swing with Ultra first, try to get them to block, get more cards in jail, hopefully get more strength from it. So if they have to guard with 2 or more, if they don't have a perfect guard, but I know they can guard it, puts more in jail, gets her even stronger. And then if I know that I have no shot of finishing them out that turn, or if I know that I want to damage it, like if I've done no damage so far, and I want to get more units in jail, I'm going to use Limon to attack the rear guard, because if they're at 4, they're not going to take it and go to game. So I'm going to attack her rear guard, put 2 more in jail, get her stronger first, and then swing over here. So that's kind of what the thought process is behind total control with this deck. I don't want my opponent having any choice. I just want to make them absolutely miserable. Can you tell by all the red? I literally have a heart-shaped hand grenade. Totally my idea, not Green Day's. But yeah, so that is my degeneracy. I do have some other cards that I've sort of used or toyed with along the way. One card I know everybody has used at one point or another. Purelight Turquoise. So our friend Turquoise, -5 anything call from jail, but power creep has kind of made that irrelevant. A lot of decks now, they could care less if you have a 5k reduction. They get it back somehow. So I actually just took her out now with the addition of the new set 10 cards. But everyone's run her for the longest time, and it was just kind of her time to go. Cuff Spring, I did have Cuff Spring in the deck for quite some time when I went for more of a long game strategy. And I was finding I was better off decking people out than anything else. I told you I was a degenerate. But what I did not like was if it was late game and I was getting, I just need one card to get them to 10, I did not like using her because then they had a mystery card in their hand. And I couldn't tell you what was in their hand at all times. So I removed her also now with the set 10. Basically, these two got replaced by these two, which is why the ratios are the way they are. Because I had these two both at 3. Other cards I have experimented with the insanely grade 2 heavy lineup. I used to run Trace June. So Trace June, one or more cards, it can boost. One or more cards in jail, it can boost. So that's a 10k booster. And, not that this deck had any problem hitting numbers, but in case I don't hit my front, or in case I'm not at 10 and I drive check a crit and put it somewhere else, having that 10 back there to buff us up just a little bit even more, it was really cool. And then the last card that I once experimented with is Lemonin. Not limon, Lemonin. It's a whole different fruit. Look it up. Anyways, she is, when she attacks, Counter Blast 1, Soul Blast 3. That's kind of why she got cut. It was a Soul Blast cost. Choose up to 3 of your opponent's rear guards. Again, if they had an empty field already, what was the point? And then if 3 or more are in jail, she gets 10k, and if there's 5 or more, she gets a crit. So she'd be 23k to crit to start, before any effects of prison, before any triggers. So she was kind of put away, right? But more or less, I've either emptied the people's field, they didn't give me anything to take from their field, or I just use my soul for Rouge, Macarite, or the Blitz Order. So those cards have all made their way in and out of the deck at some point or another. Just thought I'd talk about them. Nothing wrong with having options, right? Shovelstone I mentioned earlier, I'm not a big fan. The Suppressed Gleamer, that's her name. The chick comes in the back row, copies herself. Not a big fan. She's mainly a numbers thing, and the deck gets enough numbers on its own with Prison. So, anyways, that's what I got for you guys. I really do appreciate everyone taking the time to watch. Let me know what you thought. I know it's a bit of a unique setup, but people don't see it coming, especially the trigger lineup. And I think this is just absolute mind games. You play it the way that you want to play the game. You can rush, you can be slow, you can do whatever you want, depending on the deck you're facing. Or heck, if it's one of your friends and you know how they like to play all the time, just play the opposite. That's me, woodlandDOX, telling you to trick your friends. And on that note, I'll see you guys in the next one.